welcome to another episode of the Now Show. On today's episode, I'm going to be having an interesting conversation with this young entrepreneur. So Benga Ayo Dada is my guest, otherwise known as Benga
Art
Smith, you know. Anyway, this episode, the title is Made to Design. And you'll see in a minute why we called it Made to Design. Benga, thank you for doing this with us. And welcome
Good
to the
to be
Now
here.
Show. Wow, you know, I said we're going to be having an interesting conversation. You know, one thing I like about young people now is that they're doing things out of the ordinary, you know, not what is expected, as it were. You know, we had a way of doing it before, you know, in our time we go to school, we read the course that our parents wanted us to read,
and then
we
get
came
married.
out and
Get married, start a family.
and we walk along the line of that course. We get married, we start a family, but you guys are doing phenomenal things, you know, real mind-blowing. And you are one of those people. So
Thank
which is
God.
why we said, let's talk to you. Benga, you are in the business of jewelry. Wow.
Accessory design.
Accessory design. And, you know, it just blows my mind because who would think that when your parents were sending you to university, you were going to come out and tell them that this is what you want to do. So tell us, what is the driving force? What made you decide this is what you wanted to do?
Well, growing up, I've always been a very artistic type, you know, so it wasn't new to them. It wasn't a surprise, you know, they expected it. I guess they expected it. They didn't know the particular profession within the field of arts that I was going to pick, but they knew eventually. Growing up, they thought I was going to be a performer, probably an actor. So they were open. I don't have a typical African parents. They're very open-minded. They support you as long as you prove to them that you have the discipline, you know what you're doing. So this might sound like I'm bragging, but right from a very young age, I always knew what I wanted. I always went for it. So growing up, I was on shows like Scrap Palace with Uncle A. You know, gifted children come together. We used to make a lot of stuff from calendars, from paper mache and all of that. So this was in the 90s,
So you had been identified as a gifted child way back then.
Yes, and then interestingly, I was a brilliant child in school, but before you could be recognized for academic excellence, you have to be really exceptional. So I was a brilliant student, I had good grades and all, but I just wasn't in the A class. My immediate older brother were in school together. It was always an award winner. There was always, in fact, nobody till he graduated, nobody competed that sport with him. Best in sciences, best in mathematics, you know. I, on the other hand, I was excelling in arts, and they had no issue with it. You know, they supported me. I was in the choir singing.
And you didn't feel funny? You know, this thing with sibling rivalry that one seems to be doing very, very well, and the other one, you know, it's just like you said. Brilliant, but not exceptional.
You know, last week Saturday was the 6th anniversary of my father's passing, and you know, writing about that, I said, you know what, I really believe that my parents should have co-authored a book on parenting, especially for Nigerian parents, because they did fantastic. I don't know.
Somebody say that because you know.
I don't know.
Usually, there's always one thing or the other that our children feel that we haven't done right.
No, I think,
no matter how hard we try.
I think they did very well. They did fantastic. You know, as you grow, as you become an adult, as you become a parent, you appreciate the sacrifices. I think that's it. Yeah, I've always appreciated them, and also there was no room for sibling rivalry. After our father's passing, we said, okay, who is our father's favorite? We could guess, but it wasn't an issue for us. You know, the one that was most like my father in terms of cleanliness, being prim and proper and all, we knew, but it wasn't an issue because he treated us as equals. He never made it known. So then we're made to feel special. It made me feel special, you know, when I was going to perform, my parents would make it a duty for, either the two of them or one of them to be there to cheer me on. I have a very great support system in my family members. I remember my older sister then, she was serving, so she was one of the youth corps members. She was serving as a teacher then. She funny enough, she was an ex-student of the school. So there was a day that I was singing, I think it was a song, I can't remember the song now, but I was singing and then it was a gospel song. I'd always been cut out to be different, you know. In school then it was cool to sing the Whitney Houston and what have you, Luther Vandross, but I went there and I sang gospel music. So I caught them by surprise and all. You know, from nowhere, I just heard her say, I know it was a Tush school and all. From nowhere, she said, "Eh, Charlotte War." I was like, oh my God.
So embarrassed.
I was, you know, I was really surprised. So they always encouraged me, and the only subject I failed was maths. But my father never made me feel bad about it. Like, look, at your brother is always excelling in sciences. What's your problem? Blah 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 blah. It got me lesson teachers for maths. One in school, one after school. And still, I failed consistently. And other subjects, it was either an A or a B. So, like I said, I was brilliant, but not because for you to be exceptional, you have to excel in all of the subjects. You know, that was it then. There was no second best. It was always overall best. I think it was after I left, they started the second best and what have you.
Make some children feel okay.
So, I remember when I had my first C6, because there was is it C3? I can't remember now. C6. C6.
4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was a C6, not even a strong C. In maths, my father popped champagne. We celebrated.
Seriously? Wow.
So that's the kind of parent that I had. So it wasn't shocking for them.
You're teaching us lessons in parenting and parenting. That's where,
I look at us today. I mean, my brother can brag that being Artsmith is my brother. I can also brag about him. Like, I have a brother who is very brilliant. He's a consultant if you need, you know, project management is there, you know. Unlike if I had been made to feel miserable and I became nothing in life. My father forced me to write the post-UME then. I intentionally failed and he knew. Because like I said, I was a brilliant child, but I wasn't just, I mean, JAMB was 250, 251. If I wrote IFE exam, I got 298, you know, very good results. But I intentionally mixed up my subject combination. I wanted a particular school. So I eventually went to the school. My father was embarrassed, like, oh, why would you, of all schools to attend, why would you want to go to this school when, you know, we could as well take you to a private university and all. And eventually it played out the way I wanted. So while waiting for my admission into the university, so I discovered jewelry making. You know, like I said, I've always been artistic. So I was bored and I'm restless. I'm never caught doing nothing. I don't like frivolity. So I was like, what can I do, you know, to keep myself busy? So there was this church member who, you know, used to make a lot of things like arts, like jewelry and all. So I said, okay, let me mention that I have a sister who is a fashion designer. So she started business before me. And so it was at the time when bead embellished Ankara was in vogue, you know, Drew by Lisa, Eridapa, and all. Those were the designers who spearheaded that revolution in the fashion industry then. So I went there to learn bead embroidery. And then I fell in love with jewelry making. I started making jewelry. And just like the theme of this show, made to design, I believe I was honestly made to design, because in the first week of my training, I was surprised with what I was creating. So the first piece I created was a magnetic clasp. I'd always loved versatility. So anybody who thinks I just started it, I have a lot of versatile pieces, by the way. So anybody who thinks I just started that, no, from inception, I'd been like that. So I created a piece that could be worn around the wrist as a bracelet, and then as different necklace styles. You know, my mom doesn't wear jewelry. We attend a particular denomination where, you know, it's not strange to not to wear jewelry. And my parents were ministers. So I created this piece. My mom was so wowed that she wore it. She was, like I said, I don't have typical Nigerian parents. We're all excited about it. Everyone gathered around like, wow. You know what? It had magnetic accents too.
Okay.
So the way you just wrap it around your, you know, it like self-winding, in fact.
Okay.
You know, so we're all gushing. They were all gushing about it in the living room. Then power went out. And we were so carried away, we didn't remember that my father wasn't. Now, I have a father, we're from Ekiti.
Okay.
So it was all school, academics. Do you understand? So that was my only... That was my only concern. That was our only concern. It wasn't just my concern. Like, would they let you do this? And it was the kind of... My father was a very responsible man, very, very responsible man. He would never leave a child to fend for himself. So it was the concern, like, would they really want you to do this? Fend for yourself? And it was always concern, like, I don't want any child of mine. I went to the kind of schools that, you know, today, and it paid off. If you can, it lived for us. You know, that's why his death was painful, because this was the time we needed to pay him back. The enjoyment he was supposed to enjoy, he did it for us. So the money should have spent on himself. So when I see some irresponsible parents that I just laugh, you know, it took us, it didn't want a situation whereby our peers were discussing summer vacation at some locations and then we're looking at them silly. He invested in those things. At least so once we don't feel different. At least, and then he was very circumspect with selecting the kind of schools we attend. He wanted us to build relationships with. Yes. He went to he attended King's College, so he knew the benefit of attending King's College. Like as a bank executive, he had some of them. It was just a phone call away. Oh,
so I mean, you know, the way the parents do it is that I want my children to have a certain pedigree.
Exactly.
Yes. So it's all about pedigree.
Pedigree.
Yes.
I was careful not to mention that, so it doesn't look like.
Let's not pretend about it. Everybody is intentional about that.
He invested a lot. So today, many people that I know, many people are wondering, you know, people who blah blah blah. Well, thanks to my skills and the exploits I have done in the jewelry industry, but also thanks to my parents, because some of these people, either my parents, my father's friend, or my mom's family member, or we went to school together, you know. So that was it. It was a concern for us. So we're all excited that night, and then it came out. My mom was like, "She did it. Why all this ulabalu and all?" I said, "Nothing. I heard you. Let me see it." My mom was like, "Oh my God." I had to go back more. You understand? And then brought it out. He was excited. And he gave his blessings instantly, because well, if this is what you want to do, no problem. But please, you go to school. So while I was in school, I was doing business. I became so independent that my father, it was his fight. Let me just, this is the kind of father I had. That you don't ask me for money, for this and that. How are you coping? Handouts and all of that.
I'm sure many parents would want to have children like you.
What is the issue? It was funny. Most of me they were like, "You're crazy. Your father is dragging the rules."
To even spend on you.
So after a while, he would don't ask me. Every week, he would just send me a check. I'm like, "You're just bothering yourself. Use this money to take care of my younger brother. I'll do something." I mean, as at this time,
your business was already thriving.
Yeah.
Even as far back as when you were in school.
In school.
Amazing.
So I think that's where I learned how to have a good savings culture, because whenever I sent the allowance to me, I would save it somewhere. So eventually I used it for trainings. I used it to get materials. I've always been a fan of experimenting. So whenever I wanted to experiment, I won't wait for a customer order to have money to experiment. You know, I took from this savings and I experimented. So I'm known for experimenting.
So the money to develop yourself.
Myself. So
Mm.
God bless my father, God bless my mom. You know, they gave me a very wonderful heritage spiritually. They covered me spiritually. My mom still covers me spiritually. You know, sometimes I just laugh. I say it's not about how well you pray. Thanks to your mom. Do you understand? And you know,
it's a foundation.
It's a foundation.
You know? The foundation.
and my mom has become an unofficial ambassador. She's one of the pastors in a Redeemed Church in New Jersey, and then I see a lot of people like, your mom is so wonderful, she's so this, she's so that, I need to patronize you. They introduce me to other people, so my mom is like influencer of big arts,
salesperson.
So that's the kind of family I'm from, and I'm very grateful, very grateful.
And you create all these exquisite pieces and that are unique to you. So you don't go for the ordinary. So what motivates you in your designs?
The quest to be different. Even as a member of the choir, if I was given a song to score, I don't try to sing it exactly like the singer. Like, I'm not Yolanda Adams, I'm not Marvin Sapp, I'm Benga.
You're Benga.
Do you understand? So I've always had the quest to be different. So I did, and that's what has set me apart. My slogan is handcrafted, exclusive, elegant. So that exclusive. Handcrafted, exclusive, elegant. So that's what has attracted the quality of clients that I have at the moment. Women who want to stand out, men who want to stand out.
I was going to ask how affordable are your pieces?
Funny enough, we're not cheap, but we're affordable.
Okay, you're not cheap, you're affordable. I like that.
Yeah, compared to
affordable is relative.
It's relative.
What you call affordable?
Yeah, but it's because of my target audience anyway. So it's affordable for my target audience.
You this young man, you're intentional about everything.
It's necessary because I'm not selling to everybody. So if you come to me and say your things are expensive, tell me you can't afford it. That's a different thing. Back then there was something I used to say in Pidgin that there's no such thing as expensive. Now your money never reach. So when your money never reach, so when I'm buying stuff, I'm very aspirational. So when I want something and then I can't afford it at the moment, rather than just what many Nigerians do that is very annoying. So they go on a calumny campaign against the brand. That's too expensive. What are they doing? Is it not just gold field? Is it real gold? Is it this and that? You can't afford it. Keep your mouth shut. If you're spiritual, pray that you can afford it. If you're ambitious, work to afford it. So that's where I am. Not slander. Do you understand? Right. So that's why I do. I'm very aspirational in all of the things that I do. So those who know me know that in the last 6 years, my creativity has been on an overdrive. I've launched a lot of things.
Because I was going to ask that from jewelry, you've evolved into other things.
A lot has happened. After my father's passing, I opened a Lekki studio, an Okwebi studio.
Wow.
After then, I was featured on CNN, I was featured on BBC. So it has been, I've been on overdrive.
And you're featuring on the Now Show.
So I've done stuff that I just want to make him proud, and that informed I was Benga Dada before, but after his passing, I decided to incorporate his name. It makes so, and now I'm Benga Ayo Dada. So anybody wants to put Benga Dada, no point of correction, Benga Ayo Dada, because everything that I do,
the son of who you are.
Exactly, everything that I do is in honor of him. So it drives my consciousness in whatever I do. So frugality is key to my brand right now. We do, after his passing, I started doing advocacy campaigns. So I pick different topics, mostly breast cancer and cerebral palsy. I have a brother who lives with cerebral palsy. So advocacy campaigns and all of this, I just want to make him proud.
And now they're hearing about you on the Now Show, on Channel TV.
I just want to make him proud.
Well done, Peter.
Thank you.
Well done. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now? This one that you're already all over the world. Where do you want to go again?
So I'm not a fan. I'm an NFA. I am not a fan of planning.
I don't
like the Bible says that don't worry about tomorrow. I mean, 2020, has proven to us that you're just wasting your time with planning about the tomorrow you can't brag about. The tomorrow you don't know.
Wasting your time planning about the tomorrow
you're not sure
you cannot brag about.
So I live in the now, like the show says. Do you understand? So I don't try to preoccupy myself with thoughts about tomorrow when I've not even done anything today, because what I do today is what will give birth to tomorrow. So if I'm not creating any legacy today, there's nothing that will be celebrated tomorrow. So if tomorrow I want to be
you to
celebrated,
come on that again. If you are not
creating a legacy today, tomorrow there's nothing to celebrate. So if you are saying, oh, tomorrow I want to be featured on this, I want to be in Forbes list and all that, you're so preoccupied with that, you're doing nothing today, you're wasting your time. So this is what I do. Is it that I live a visionless life? No, I don't. What I do is to seek God's will first, and then I pattern my plan after God's will, because God's will is sacrosanct. It's never changing. You know, God doesn't change his mind. We human beings are such that today we think of something, there's a policy change, and then you tweak the plan. God knows the beginning from the ending. So his will, it's eternal. Do you get my point? So I seek God's will first, and then I create a plan. So last year, people saw me, according to them, balling, and they're like, how are you thriving in the midst of the pandemic? It's because I patterned my plan after God's will. So nothing caught me by surprise. I had a solution to every problem. I had an answer to every question.
A solution to every problem.
Yeah. So my mind is so that it's fashioned to see possibilities in impossibilities. So when I see a tragedy, I see an opportunity. My father used to say something that when there's a car accident, you know, every other person sees a tragedy, but an insurance man is happy because he sees an opportunity.
An opportunity for you too.
You know, so that's the way we're brought up, to see opportunities. So when my father hates you lamenting, so you're lamenting about the government, and what can you do about it in your own little way? So that drove my different initiatives, like the advocacy campaign, my internship program, and all of that, my charity drive, and all of that, because I'm like, okay, we're talking about the government not doing something. What can we do for our community? Who is going to bed thanking God for your life? Do you understand? Because at the end of the day, nobody will remember me for my exploits. Will probably not remember me for my exploits. Will not remember me for the designs I created or how wealthy I was in my lifetime. What they remember is what I did, the impact, how I made them feel. You know, we think of certain names, and then we just, you're joyful talking about them, like I'm doing about my father. I remember him, and I'm joyful because the man did a lot. So it makes me feel good. It makes me feel proud that that man was my father.
Wow, wow, wow. You know, it's so interesting or amazing that at the beginning, I did say we're going to have an interesting conversation. Even I wasn't prepared for this. And surely this has been an interesting conversation. If not that we're constrained by time, I'm sure we could go on and on. Yeah. So what would be your last word to our viewers? Something
since I'm representing young adults, so I would say stop minding where the other person's bread is being buttered. Mind yours. So there's something that is very common to young people right now, and it's this thing with social media followership and the number of likes. So I have friends who have thousands of followers, millions of followers on social media. And then there was a particular one that was lamenting that our engagement had dropped. I said, it has dropped. What do you mean? Your videos still get over 100,000 views. Your likes are still in the thousands. So what are you talking about? I said, no, before she used to have tens of thousands in likes. Now she has just like 1,000 and something. And she was lamenting. She was almost getting depressed. I said, okay, so those of us that have just 50 something thousand followers, what do you expect us to do? We have what's it called, likes in hundreds on the average. Just once in a while we get over 1,000 likes. And then I spoke to her. I said, you know what you're seeing as a problem, what you're seeing as insufficient is somebody else's success. If I have half of what you have, I'll be happy with myself. So celebrate what you have. Don't be hard on yourself. You're doing well. You're doing fantastic. Wow. So be true to yourself. Stop being carried away. Because what I now discovered was that she was comparing ourselves with somebody else who uses an engagement post, who pushes our own post with sponsored art. So it wasn't organic, but ours was organic. At the end of the day, there was no reason for her to be envious or to feel depressed or whatever. So be true to yourself. Stop being hard on yourself. You're doing well. You're good enough.
Wow. It's been an amazing time. So until we come your way again on another episode of the Now Show, I'm your regular host, Abosede Ozao Show, signing off with Benga Ayodada. Benga, thank you.
You're welcome.